All right, guys, today we are going to be talking about equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions. Hopefully you have heard this word before, but the word equivalent means the same or equal. It's actually kind of interesting because if you look at this word, E-Q-U-A-L, that says equal. So in the name, it says what it is. Equivalent means equal. It means that they are the same. Okay, so let's talk about what that means. We'll start with 1/2. Everybody knows what 1/2 looks like? Boom. Guess what? If you have a fraction that looks like this, and two of them are shaded in, that is the same as 1/2. So 1/2 is the same as how many pieces? 1, 2, 3, 4. And how many are shaded in? 1, 2. So 1/2 is equivalent or is equal to 2/4, which also means they're the same. So 1/2 is the same as 2/4. 1/2 is equal to 2/4. 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4. They're all the same, okay? 1/2 is equivalent to 2/4. Guess what else? What if you had a fraction that looked like this? 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 8 on the bottom and 4 on the top. Guess what? 1/2 also equals 4/8. They are equivalent fractions. Okay? We're going to come over here on this side, and I'm going to draw one more for you. That doesn't look very good, but let's say we've got 1, 2, 3. 3 of them are shaded out of the total 6. So that's also equivalent. And guess what? These are the only ones that you need to know that are equal to or equivalent to 1/2 in 3rd grade. So if you memorize these 4 fractions, you will be able to answer most of the questions that we talk about. There are a few others that you need to know that we'll talk about, but these are all of the ones that equal 1/2 that you need to know. Okay, so if you want to pause this video and you want to write these down, I would write down 1/2 equals 2/4, which equals 4/8, which equals 3/6. Just put all of those together, put equal signs. It doesn't matter which one comes first. It doesn't matter which one comes last because they all are the same thing, right? It's kind of like saying 6 equals 6. And then if you switch it and say the other 6 equals 6, it doesn't matter which 6 comes first. They're the same thing, right? So 3/6 equals 2/4, and 2/4 equals 4/8, and 4/8 equals 1/2, and 1/2 equals 4/8, and 2/4 equals 3/6. They all equal the same thing. Okay, it's half of that pie right there. So I would pause this video and write those down. All right, there are a couple more that we need to talk about that are equivalent. 1/4 is equivalent to another fraction. Let me explain how I find equivalent fractions. I think this is the easiest way. If I'm trying to find something that equals 1/4, whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. If you don't know that, you should write that down. When you're finding equivalent fractions, whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. Okay? So I'm going to say, I'm going to multiply the top by 2, which means if I do it to the top, I have to do it to the bottom. Okay? So what's 1 times 2? 2. What's 4 times 2? 8. So guess what? 1/4 equals 2/8. That is a true statement. Okay? Look at that. You got 1/4 and you've got 2/8. Okay, my pictures aren't perfect, but do you see how that's the same thing? 1/4 is equal to 2/8. I would write these two fractions down. I do need to show you something that sometimes is a little bit tricky. Okay, so pause this video, write these two things down, and then press play. Okay, What if you had a fraction that was 2/8? Could you multiply both by 2 and get 4/16? Guess what? Yes, you could. That is an equivalent fraction. But in 3rd grade, that's really those are kind of big numbers, and you don't need to know 4/16. So is it equivalent? Yes, it is. But is there another way that we can find 1/4? Because that's the one that we need to know, right? We need to know that 1/4 equals 2/8. So whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. So instead of multiplying by 2, because that's going to give us too big of a number on the bottom, I'm going to divide by 2. So what's 2 divided by 2? 2 divided by 2 is 1. And what's 8 divided by 2? 8 divided by 2 is 4. So, interesting, because it's the same thing that we just learned. 2/8 equals, or is equivalent to, 1/4. Okay, so whenever it asks you to find an equivalent fraction, you can multiply the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, or you can divide the top by 2 and divide the bottom by 2. But really, if you just memorize that these two are equal to each other, that will help you. Then you won't have to do this. You won't have to do this stuff every time if you just memorize these numbers. But whatever is easier for you, okay? If you like to just memorize things, then just memorize this. But if you want to understand how it works and be able to do it with every single fraction that you ever come across in your life, then learn the strategy. Okay? Here's another one that you're going to need to know. 1/3 equals something. Okay? 1/3 equals something. I am going to show you. Sometimes you'll see something like this. Okay? And instead of you just deciding to multiply the top and the bottom by 2, sometimes you are going to have to say, okay, how did they get from 3 all the way to 6? What did they do? Did they multiply or did they divide? Well, they multiplied because 6 is a bigger number. So 3 times what is 6? 3 times 2 is 6. So whatever I do to the bottom times 2, I've got to do to the top times 2. So what is 1 times 2? It's 2. So 1/3 is the same thing as 2/6. Go ahead and pause your video and you can write that down. 1/3 is the same as 2/6. And I can do this. 2/6 is the same thing as divide by 2, divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Again, it's the same thing, same numbers that you just wrote down. I'm just showing you another way. 2/6 is the same thing as 1/3. Okay? So there are lots and lots of different ways to do problems like this. I want to show you one more way, and then I'm going to let you go, and there are some games that you can play. Okay, sometimes you see a fraction that is missing the first number. So 1 over something. I'm going to change this. We're going to do this one because we haven't done this one yet. 2 over something equals 4/6. Okay? But, sorry, take 2. Okay, 4/6 equals 2 over something. This is what I want to show you. Sorry. Okay, 4/6 equals 2 over something. How do we get from 4 to 2? If division is like hard for your brain to understand and it's way easier to multiply, I think it's easier to multiply, so I do this. Okay? You can switch the numbers. This is the exact same thing as 2 over something equals 4/6. Those two things are the exact same thing, right? If this is going to equal the other one, then it doesn't matter which one comes first. Okay? So if you don't really want to divide by 2, 4 divided by 2 is 2, but if you don't want to do that, then switch it and do it down here. 2 times what gives you 4? Well, that's a little bit easier. I like multiplication, so 2 times 2 is 4. Okay? So then you can say what what times 2 is 6? 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. Oh, so it's 3. So it's 3 times 2 is 6. Okay? So there are lots and lots of ways that you can do a problem like this. That mouse is right in the way. But just know that if you want to switch this and put this at the end, or move this to the front, you can totally do that, okay? Because they equal the same thing, so it doesn't really matter what order it is in, okay? I'm going to write some equivalent fractions that you need to know on the board, and when I'm done writing them, you can write these ones down. These fractions are going to help you with the game that you're going to play, okay? You do need to know which ones are bigger. You're also going to take a Canvas quiz, and so you are going to need to know which fractions are equivalent to which fractions, okay? So I'm just going to make a giant list of all of the important ones that you need to know. When the video's over, pause it, and you can write all of them down. You can start writing them down. If I don't mess up, you can. You can start writing them down as I'm writing them. Okay? Those all equal each other. And 1/4 equals 2/8, and 3/4 equals 6/8, and 1/3 equals 2/6, and 2/3 equals 4/6. Okay? Those are the ones that you're going to need to know for the game. So if you want to write them all down, go ahead and write them down. Memorize them. It'll make the game faster if you know them. But if you need to look at your paper, you can also look at your paper. Okay? Good luck with the match game. I will show you. Actually, I'm just going to tell you right now. If you go to the link in Canvas, it will say match. You just click on that link, and it's going to appear. There are going to be several. Actually, I think I'm just going to show you. You write these down, and I will come back here. I'm going to share a different screen with you. All right, pause the video and finish writing these because I'm going to stop sharing the screen. So pause the video now. All right, I am going to pull open Canvas. Okay, so on Canvas, you will see a screen that looks like this. Okay, so it will look like this. In Canvas, you're going to click on this link, and it's going to open to this website. And your job is to make everything disappear. So you're going to start the game, and you have to match which ones are equivalent to each other. So I know that 2/4 is the same as 1/2. So I'm going to move 2/4 over to the 1/2 and see how it disappears. Okay, we just learned that 2/6 is the same thing as 1/3. So I'm going to move 2/6 over to 1/3 and then it disappears. Okay, so I want you to continue to play this game. You can't see this one over here, but I've got 1/4 and, now it's over here. 1/4 and 2/8. It's right there. You see all of these. So we got 3/4 is the same as 6/8, and 2/3 is the same as 4/6. Okay, so I'm done. I got 42.1 seconds, but when I played earlier, I got 13.4 seconds. So you try to beat my score, and if you can beat my score, then I will give you a prize. Okay? And good luck.